On the evening of Tuesday, February 14th, a Board of Education meeting was held at the Butler County Educational Complex. It was expected to yield quite a turnout with parents concerning the budget issues and the possibility of cutting programs, including soccer and chamber choir. Approximately 60 people attended the meeting and listened to the presentation regarding the budgeting problems. Eric Elms explained how the county got into this situation and why.
I know everybody's here tonight over the budget. There's been a lot of talk in the community, etc. First thing I want to talk about is how I go through the general fund budget. I just want to talk about, I guess, Butler County as a little bit. Go ahead, Jimmy. The average property tax rates in school districts across Kentucky is 54.4726 cents per 100. Butler County's property tax rate is 37.7. Motor vehicle, the average across the state is 54.6022. Butler County's motor vehicle rate is 45.9. That's 16% lower than the average. I'm kind of putting this up here just to show that we are trying to do what we can with your guys' money. The other thing is, there's been a lot of talk about us overspending this year. Well, we are overspending. We're overspending $299,000 this year based on what we were given from the state at this time last year. You might say, why are we doing that? We started this plan in about March or April of 2008 when all the federal stimulus money started coming down. I know all of the board wasn't here, but there was a lot of you here. And we decided that we were going to try to save as much federal stimulus money as we could. That way, when the time came that the economy would turn even worse, then we would have the money to overspend a couple years. 2011 was supposed to be a year that we felt like we was going to start going backwards, but we actually broke even almost. So we felt really good about that. So it was our plan. We figured we could spend $300,000 this year. And as you can see, in 2002, we only had $1.4 million. So, I mean, over the years, we've went up even from there. But it was our intention. It was a 4-year plan that turned into a 5-year plan that now is turned back into a 1-year plan, I guess you could say. But in December, we got a mid-year cut that we had nothing, we didn't know anything about. This time last year, the state said they were going to give us $9.9 million in SEEK money. And then all of a sudden in December, they come in and said, no, we're not going to give you 9.9, we're going to give you 9.5. So they cut us $380,000 in mid-year. There's no way that we can budget that. We had no idea that they would do that. Going back to what I said earlier, if I left every employee where they're at right now, if we kept all the staff members, and we kept all the supplies at basically what they were this year. Go ahead, Jimmy. We would overspend $1.3 million next year, more than what we brought in. In that, the only way we can get down to break even, and it's my position that we should try to break even next year. The board has the ability to do what they feel like they need to do. But me as a finance officer, I feel like I have to at least recommend that we do break even next year because we don't know if we'll get another mid-year cut. And to be honest with you guys, the only way to do that is through payroll, and that's people's jobs. And that's hard for me to stand up here and talk about. But I want you to realize, go to the next one, 74% of our general fund budget is payroll and benefits.
Following this presentation, Superintendent Howard allotted time for questions, comments, and concerns from the audience.
And while Eric's up here, and I'll, if you want me to answer them, I will. Be glad to, try to, but when it comes to the money, while Eric's standing up here, we'll try to get your answers to your questions. So, all I'm going to ask you to do is stand up and say your name so that I know who you are, and then.
There were several great questions and excellent ideas and recommendations.
The project that was done on the ball fields, the bus garage, field house, I know there was grant money to help on those projects, but I've heard that it was anywhere from $200,000 to $400,000 short. Is this part of a deficit?
Okay, that's a great question. I'm glad
that's number one.
Okay, good. I'm glad you asked. Okay. The money that was used on the athletic field house, or we just call it the practice facility now because the band and everybody else, ROTC, that was pure construction funds. No general fund money. No general fund money. In other words, the money that was used on the baseball, softball field, and the practice facility, and this renovated bus garage was in a construction fund account, and it could not be used for anything else.
A lot of people relate me because of being forefront of the baseball boosters and different things as being a sports person. I was in chamber choir, and it gets down to the payroll portion unless you think outside the box. In 2003, 2004, a county very similar to us, Webster County, went to a revised calendar. People call it incorrectly full 4-day school calendar. Basically, it eliminated 12 instructional days, added 35 minutes to the calendar per day. And they saved in just that alone over $150,000. They don't want to call it cutting, but when you underfund something, in essence, you're cutting. I hope that we would consider some alternatives such as a shortened instructional calendar day system. So I would hope that before we cut a tremendous amount of salary, that we look a little harder at that 14% of the budget.
I think you're right. You know, there's been talk about a 4-day week for quite some time. You know, I think it's something that could definitely be looked at, but I think there needs to be a protocol before you make a drastic change like that as well. And by that I mean parents need to be notified, survey the parents. You know, I'm interested in their test scores and what that schedule's done, and the things we found is, you know, it really hasn't hurt their test scores.
Howard takes full blame for the overspending and claims that there was no way for him to know that a curveball like this would be thrown by the state.
You know, our main goal is to try to keep our programs, try to keep our programs for our kids, and not let our kids slide backward in any program. And that's just the main goal. And it's going to be a challenge.
In the end, Howard says that this was the worst part of his job, and that his concern is for the students above all else, and that there has been no plans set in stone to cut any programs, but we must get creative. To read more on this story, please visit www.beechtreenews.com.